going to be more in here. Sorry.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I can see myself and I'm like, oh, my screen's not sharing.
Perfect. Hello, Paul. Very well.
Good, good. Hello, Tamara.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I was worried I had this bad feeling I'd have like some tech problems tonight. So I was like, oh, Pova, can you please stay on the line? I have this feeling. I'm getting a bit nervous. I don't know why.
Now everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. How has your day been?
Oh, good. Yeah, oh, good.
I'm gonna cover this. Yeah, we'll do that. Actually, while people are joining, I'm gonna do this. So people can ask questions in the chat, right? But Apurva and I had a theory. You guys can see that, can't you?
Yes, you mean
Yeah.
the screen?
Yeah, the chat.
No.
Oh, you can't see this chat screen that I'm like waving around in front of you?
No.
Just gonna put like a message in our chat, Tamara, for everyone. So
Yeah.
we have to put the questions as we go and we can answer them towards the end then.
Yeah, because I was worried that popping that up on the screen would block the presentation, but I hadn't realized because you told me that you couldn't see it. So that's actually great. All right, that's perfect.
Perfect.
So are you putting the message up or do you want me to?
I'm putting that now, no worries.
Okay, perfect.
Like, it can be on how you move. Yeah, you see? Now you have to check.
What?
Below.
Oh, yeah.
So guys, in case you have any questions,
You can ask Maria.
how can we do that? You can go to the computer and type your question.
Yep.
Do you think we can take a picture now?
Yep. That's
It's gonna be better because of the lights as well.
Yep.
So we can
Turn on the lights.
for the manual.
That's it.
But I don't think it's so
We're just gonna take a quick picture here and we're coming back, okay?
No problem.
So what time is it now? Shall we start?
Yes. Oh, I tend to wait until about 5 minutes into it. It allows everyone to join.
Okay, no
If
problem.
they've got any Zoom problems.
Okay.
We can maybe kick things off shortly. And I was going to ask if anybody can't hear me to message in the chat, but that would be that wouldn't work, would it? And just a reminder for anybody on the call, I don't know if you've seen the chat function at the bottom of the screen, but we will be taking questions at the end. And if you have any questions whilst I'm taking you through the presentation, then please add them to the chat and we'll do a bit of a Q&A at the end of the presentation.
Okay, so I think, Paula, we can begin now. Is that okay?
Okay, first of all, hello everyone. My name is Paulo Guanais. I'm the marketing manager at KCBT College in Adelaide. I would like to thank you all for joining us in this session tonight. And secondly, I'd like to introduce KCBT. We are a college in Adelaide and Perth, and we offer vocational courses in business, commercial cookery, social media, human resources, project management. So we have a good variety of courses. And I'd like to talk about a little bit about the Diploma of Social Media Marketing and why someone should study this course in Adelaide. It's a really practical course. So you're going to learn how to do social media, how to promote products, services, and companies on social media in a practical way. So it's not only theory. Also, we offer evening classes, which gives the students much more flexibility to study during the day or find a part-time job in their field. Also, our trainer has more than 10 years of experience in social media. So she knows how is working in social media in real life, not only theory. Also, we have scholarships available, so we are offering really competitive prices at the moment. And also, we have our next intake on 19th of October. So join us now, and I hope you enjoy the masterclass tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Paolo. So everybody, welcome to tonight's masterclass, which is the power of personal branding. I am your host for tonight's masterclass. My name is Tamara Klasarik. A little bit about me, I am a marketing strategist and I'm also one of the head mentors at Social Media College. And I'm also the lead strategist and founder at my own digital marketing consultancy called Thrive Media Labs. And together with all of our course hosts and experts, we bring to you the Diploma of Social Media Marketing and multiple masterclasses, and we help you kind of get through the Diploma of Social Media Marketing and teach you current trends in social media, so you can go out and either become a social media manager or work with clients yourselves, or even work with agencies that you may work with in, say, a business that you might be running for yourself. Now, of course, I have technical troubles. So Social Media College itself is Australia's leading educator for social media marketing programs. We were founded in 2014 when we found a gap in the market for social media education. Social media has been around for quite a long time, and still to this day, there's not many courses out there that can teach you up-to-date social media marketing education. And so that is a gap that we filled as Social Media College. We work with Australia's leading universities and have over 8,000 successful students have enrolled in our courses. We are also the creator of the Diploma of Social Media Marketing, which is the first and only formal qualification in social media. And we partner with leading colleges and TAFEs, making it the most successful Australian accredited course. And we also have expanded social course offerings with face-to-face workshops and team training. So let's get started. That's enough about us. Let's get started in tonight's masterclass. So let's talk about the power of a brand. Look at this red can. There's not even a brand on this, and already you are associating a brand with it. Now, when we talk about brands, and think about the brands that you are associating to this red can, there are things that that brand helps you, there are things that come to mind because of that brand. There is recognition, there is trust in that brand, there is credibility, customer loyalty, and brand equity. Now imagine if we didn't associate that brand that we're thinking about in our heads, if this was just a standard red can. There wouldn't be that recognition, there wouldn't be that trust, that credibility, customer loyalty, or brand equity. So when we talk about personal branding, it's about, this quote here is really great, it's about managing your name, even if you don't own a business in a world of misinformation, disinformation, and semi-permanent Google records. So personal branding is very poorly understood. It's really about how people perceive you, whether that's rightly or wrongly. And people make those perceptions based on interactions with us, whether that's directly or indirectly, via the opinions of others, or indirectly from what's said about us online. The focus of this masterclass is going to be on digital brand and how anyone, anytime can Google your name. How many times have you met somebody, whether that's at a networking event or spoken to someone, maybe done an interview or interviewed at a business somewhere, and the first thing that you did was go and Google them. So anybody can Google your name at any time, and you often find outdated content online about yourself. And that's if you can find it. And if you can find it, other people can find it too. So there is information that is presenting, so is there information out there that's presenting you in a bad way? Have you ever Googled yourself? Maybe just not the way that you want it to, or personal branding is really about managing this online brand to create the perception you want others to think. So have we ever really sat back and thought about how people perceive us? We have a brand that we feel that we emit out to the world, but have we ever thought about how people actually feel about us and how they perceive us? So personal branding is an often misconstrued concept, and some believe it to be self-promotion. You know, look at me, I did all this great stuff. And some people do actually use it to that extent, and they don't really understand that there's so much more depth to it. And others believe that it's really not professional. You know, back in my day, we didn't do marketing. You know, you wouldn't put your name out there. But in this day and age, personal branding is really, really important, whether that's something as simple as looking for a job, but really it can be to the extent of positioning yourself as an authority in the area that you want to be known for. And there are those who happily jump on the branding bandwagon as it helps them in their careers and businesses. But really, the reality is that we all have a personal brand, whether we like it or not. Our brand is what people perceive us to be. And that is regardless of how we think that they perceive us. So there are almost 3 billion people with smartphones on the planet. And that means anyone, anytime can Google your name. So I don't know if you, whilst you're watching this masterclass, whether you're sitting there with your phone as well. I dare you, if you haven't already, to go and Google your name and see what information is out there. Many people investigating their personal brand find content that they didn't know was out there. I don't know if you guys had MySpace back in the day, but there are MySpace pages still out there haunting people and their personal brands out on the internet. So definitely Googling your name and seeing what is available on the internet about you is actually a really great housekeeping feature to always kind of be across what people are finding about you at any point in time. So we're not talking just about a poorly maintained LinkedIn profile and old Facebook pages. There could be photos from when you were at a social function that a business might have put up on the internet that has your name on it. All of this put together creates a brand. Whether you like that brand or not, there is a brand. You have a personal brand, and you can either choose to manage that brand or it manages you. So it's really not a decision about whether you want to create a personal brand, because we all have one. So why not use it to your benefit? So whether you're creating your own personal brand or building a business brand or helping your client's brand or working for an employer's brand, the process and the objectives are remarkably similar. Each brand can be used to attract opportunities if created in the right way. A personal brand also acts as the perfect boost to your business brand, as people trust people more than businesses. Okay, so quick little activity. If you haven't already done it, as I asked you just then, I want you guys to Google yourselves. You're sitting there with your phone or you're watching this on a computer. Google yourselves and find the top 5 results on the all listing, and then also go into the images section. Now, what's really interesting here is people who have more common names, they can kind of hide, right? They hide with other people who also have the same name. I personally have a very unique name, so I'm the only person in the world with my name. So I really have to look after my personal brand, because if somebody puts my name into Google, it's all me. So I really encourage you guys to Google yourselves and have a think about whether you're happy or unhappy with what is out there, and think about the assumptions that people are putting together if they've never met you before, or they just met you at a function and they're now Googling you, and think about the brand that they are perceiving you, what are the personal brand that they're now formulating in their mind. Give yourself 10 points if you're happy with the result, but minus 10 points for each result you're not happy with on the top 5 results. And I really encourage you to put the final the score in the chat, and we can, see how all of your colleagues are faring, and see who's happy with their personal brand and who's not. So I'm going to rush ahead for time's sake, but have a little gander in the chat and we can take a look shortly. So why define your personal brand? So first and foremost, it benefits your career. According to a Career Builder survey in 2018, 70% of employers and even higher percentage of recruiters use social media to screen candidates during the hiring process. So if you don't develop a personal brand for yourself, you lose all control over what is being said about you. You can shape your personal brand to reflect the industry that you're in and how you want to be seen. It's also great to create a better sense of self. Building a personal brand allows you to understand exactly who you are and what you stand for. By looking at yourself objectively online and how you appear in Google searches, you can determine exactly how you want to be seen and how you can work towards this personally. This is a really great exercise when you're creating goals and creating a roadmap of where it is that you want to be in your career or in your life, because you actually have to think about the plan and who you want to become, because you're going to have to then reflect this in your personal brand. You can also think of this strategically. I think everybody naturally thinks about looking for a better job or a job in general when they think of personal brand, but think about it this way. You might have a role as a salesperson within a company. Developing a personal brand will really put you in a position to be trusted by potential clients. Your own personal brand allows you to strategically work towards the goals of meeting sales quotas and things like that, because you can integrate that personal brand in marketing and sales strategies, and that really differentiates you from your competitors. You also can deliver more value by defining your personal brand. By doing so, that's establishing yourself online. You can add value to not only your business, your career, but you can interact in the online world and within your particular niche or industry and join conversations as a person, not a business, while still connecting back to the business or company that you associate with. It's a really great way to add value online. And then lastly, we call it e-traction. The great news is that once you brand yourself online, opportunities will find you rather than you have to find them. You'll be really, really surprised at what's possible. So how do you develop a strong personal brand that stands out? So this is Andrew Ford. Andrew Ford is the host of the personal branding course within our course, and he wrote the book Creating a Powerful Brand. He also has the Build Your Own Business podcast, and he works with us here at Social Media College. And he is the inventor of the e-traction method. This is something that he developed. It's a 3-step process: understand, build, and leverage. So we start off with understanding you and laying the foundations, building the online and social media identity that you want, and then leveraging it to build connections and create opportunities. So many people Google themselves and realize that they have issues with their online brand and they want to rush into changing their profile. But the thing is, what do you do to change it? So it's really important to use this method before you go about changing your personal brand, because this will create the brand that you're trying to emulate. It's really going to be well thought out. We need to understand what our personal brand is before we can go and make these changes online, and how we can use social media to our advantage. After all, the most important part of your personal brand is the message that you communicate to the market, not necessarily the medium which your message is contained on. So does that make sense? We're talking about the message. That's more important than the mediums, whether that's a LinkedIn profile or a blog post or anything else that you create. By articulating the message really well, executing that within the medium is a lot easier. After this, you can begin to build that personal brand across social media, knowing exactly what you hope to achieve and how you want to be seen. And that final step is about leveraging the brand and using it to build connections in whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve, so that you can further yourself in your business and your career. So let's start off with understand. Understand section assists with your key message. Have a think more deeply about your personal brand, and it will guide your decision on how to improve it. So firstly, we start with defining your values. How do you allocate your time and why? And aligning your goals to your values. Secondly is about personality and how you use your time. Third is about your life stage. Where are you currently in life for you to build your personal brand around it? Each life stage has its own challenges. Are you starting out in your career? And so then in that regard, you need to build up, say, credibility and knowledge and exposure in your industry. Or are you more mature in the market that you are in the industry that you specialize in? Have you been there for quite some time, but you may not have the exposure, or people may not know you for a particular reason in that industry? What is that life stage? What is your life stage? Where are you in life? And what is it that you're hoping to achieve in that life stage? And then also have a think about the resources that you have available to build a personal brand. Now, what do I mean by resources? There's a few things that we talk to about resources. 3 in particular: money, time, and connections. So of course, there are other resources you'll need to build your personal brand, but these are the most important. Your values are personal. They focus on understanding yours. Your values are now, not what you want, it's what you do now. They also reflect voids in our life. They can provide you with motivation. Values can be changed by understanding their drivers, and they also have a hierarchy, and they need to align with intentions. So understanding your values is foundational to the entire branding process. There is no right or wrong values, but rather there's your values, my values, and other people's values. Ensure you're focusing on what's most important to you. Don't worry about what other people are doing, what society's doing, what your partner's values are, or your family's. What are your values? And what's most important to you right now in the present? Where you spend your time indicates your values. If you spend the most amount of time and energy reading, studying, and making money, then that's a value. As I mentioned, values can reflect voids in our life. Our past emotional issues can be the reason our values are like they are. And often a negative situation in our past will predict high values we have today. For instance, if you were very unhealthy in your childhood, you might have a really high value on health and work in that industry, for instance. That emotional void can often provide the motivation for your values. Think about doctors, for instance. A lot of them, if you think about some of their stories, might have a void that happened, or something that happened in their life. A family member could have gotten ill by a particular disease, and then that's a value that drives them to become specialists in their field. You can change your values by understanding what is the core driver of it, so your void, and remove the emotional blockage. You can change them by linking them. For instance, you can increase your inspiration to work more by linking to the benefits for your family. And also finally, values have a hierarchy which we live by. If we understand that hierarchy of values, or what is most important to us, we know where we will focus our time. To build a powerful personal brand, we do need to devote time to it. Time is our most precious resource and one we can't get more of, so we need to use it wisely. If our intentions are not aligned with our values, we won't spend the time required to build our personal brand to achieve them. So again, a little exercise. I'm going to show you on the next screen a bunch of values to be used as inspiration. And what we want you to do is to have a look at all of those values. And if you don't have a pen and paper, open up the Notes app in your phone and select the values that best describe you. And once you've finished, I want you to reduce that list down to the top 7 to 10 values. So let's recap. So you're going to prioritize your values from 1 to 7 and how much time you spend on each of them now and how much time you would like to spend. And then what we're going to do is we're going to notice any differences in your current priority compared to your desired priority. So let's just take a look at what I mean. So this is a list of values. Have a read. Some are going to pop out and you're really going to resonate with them. And some you'll just, skim over. As you're reading them and the ones that pop out to you, start noting them down. What are the ones that resonate with you? You're going to have more than 7 when you first do this. Just write all of them down that resonate with you, that pop out to you. And now I want you to maybe put some little markers next to them because we're going to pick the top 7. And you don't have to have 7 if you've only got 5, that's fine. But what we want to do is we want to understand what our personal values are. Now, if some already pop out to you, I'd love for you to share them in the chat here. I know for me, honesty is one of them. Courage is another one. Security is a big one for me, as is ambition. Ones that don't speak to me are things like celebrity. And obviously for others, vice versa, these things might stand out to them. Now there's this thing called the values clarification template, and this is where you prioritize those values from 1 to 7. Now for the purposes of this masterclass, I don't think we'll have time to really go through that, but what I really want you to do is that you're going to have maybe 7 values. And what I want you to do is find out what are the stronger ones, what are the more important ones to you. There might be 3 that stand out. Put little asterisks by them. And that's going to help you understand who you are and who you are now in this present moment. And what's really interesting is when you look at these values, you're going to see how much time do you actually spend on each of them now. And then you're going to think about how much time would you like to spend on them? Because obviously things get in the way, right? Day to day gets in the way. And we have these values that we want to live to, but sometimes as we work through day to day, they stop us from potentially living our values. And that does impact our personal brand. So by identifying your values and prioritizing maybe those top 3, that's going to help you understand where to put your focus. So it doesn't mean that those other values aren't important, and the ones that aren't on your list or the ones that weren't in the top 7 does not mean that that's not important. They're just not the highest priority in your current life stage. For instance, if you're sick, health becomes a priority. It might not be on your top 7. When you're facing a large bill, money becomes your focus, but that may not be one of your values, one of your top values. With all things being equal, your highest values will become your top priorities. So it's really vital that personal branding activities don't interfere with your highest values. So personality. Personality forms a really big part of our personal brand. Has anybody thought about what their personality is? Now, I want you to write down some words that best describe you. Are you funny? Are you caring? Are you organized? What words describe you? So again, find 3 words that you would use to describe yourself. I want you to write down 3 words that your friends would use to describe yourself. And now I want you to write down 3 words your colleagues would use to describe yourself. So Lifestage. This is what you want from your personal branding work. Different stage of life will change your values and therefore your allocation of time. So you need to be really aware of where you are and where you want to go in the future. If you're studying, getting married, or starting a family, switching careers, for instance, each of them have its own challenges. So now I want you to have a think about, what do you want from your personal branding? What life stage are you in? Are you studying? Well, obviously we're all studying here, aren't we? But what are we studying towards? Are we upskilling? Is this, are we new to the industry that we are trying to get into? Are we getting married? Are we starting a family? Are we switching careers? Are we mature age students switching careers? What is it that we want from our personal branding? That could be known in a particular industry as an expert, or it could be to, if you're just studying, it's about wanting to be known as somebody who's passionate about that industry because you lack that experience. So you want to show that there's passion and you have drive and you have a thirst for that industry. So have a think about the life stage that you're at and write down what you want from your personal branding. Now we talk to resources and understanding what resources you have and will need to achieve your goals. The 3 resources, or the 3 main resources really, are money, time, and connections. Of course, there's other resources you need to build your personal brand. However, these are the most important. Now that we've completed the understand section of personal branding, we can start to build ourselves across social media and the online world. We do that across social media in general. We do that across LinkedIn. We can do that across websites and personal SEO. There are a variety, there's so many social media platforms out there which you can choose from to help you with your personal branding. LinkedIn is the most obvious that we all know about. And it's fantastic for a professional audience. But don't dismiss Instagram as a brilliant network. If you've got high volumes of quality imagery that allows you to showcase who you are and what you do, Instagram is a great visual platform for that. Twitter is a really great conversational tool. If you have lots of little facts and nuggets and insights about your industry, but you don't like to be visual, like the visual brand, you don't like to be the face of the brand or having your, pardon me, your photo taken and being that, that Instagram visual brand, then Twitter might be the right tool for you. Because this is where you can quickly and easily become involved in those relevant conversations with your desired audience. So let's have a think about this. Where are the people that you want to attract? Now that you've had to think about what do you want from your personal branding, here are some of the options. But what you need to think about is the people that you're wanting to attract, where are they? Where do they reside? Where do they hang out in the social media space? This is where selecting social media channels is super important. So I want you to review the intentions at the end of the understand section and match it to the site where the people you want to attract are. There's no point being on Instagram if your audience, the people that you want to see your brand, are on LinkedIn. So it's very important to think about who it is that you're trying to attract and where are they currently residing. That's not to say that just because, say, you want to have an Instagram profile, that you can't have more than one. You can have separate pages for that. And that's not to say that just because you have professional pages on some of these sites that you can't have a personal life. You can keep them very, very separate. And the most obvious is very much LinkedIn. People have a professional life on LinkedIn and then they have their personal life on Facebook. But that's not to say that you wouldn't have a professional image on Facebook as well. You could have a public page and a personal profile. So you keep those separate. So to build your personal brand for your career, you need social media for your connections. So keep in mind that you can reach 80% of your audience using LinkedIn and Facebook alone. And that might mean that the others aren't necessary. We don't want you to have a presence on every single social media channel. You're one person. The last thing you want to do is spend all of your time on social media. So we want more results, less work. That is why we want you to rank these in order of where these people might be. So it might be LinkedIn first, Facebook second, then Twitter, then Instagram, then maybe YouTube, Snapchat, Pinterest, TikTok. So if you're game, I want you to put in your top 3 rankings in the chat and we'll continue on. Normally I reveal these, but I think it's best to kind of lay out the plan. So how to build your personal brand on social media. First, we want to update your profiles. So once you've chosen the channel that you want to focus on, we want you to delete any old accounts and update each channel's profile with all of your current information. Have that consistency, that consistent persona across those channels. Not the same, consistent. Then we want you to be strategic. Decide on your content and engagement strategies and create a plan. So what do I mean by that? What sort of content can you create to achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve? If it's Twitter, what information can you share? If it's Instagram, what images do you need to collect? If it's LinkedIn, what insights, what information do you need to collect? And put a plan together. Put some time and effort into where it will have the most impact. Next, it's about creating and curating great content. Good enough is no longer good enough. So your content has to be great. I would rather you focus on quality rather than quantity. You do not have to be posting every day. It's about adding value, whether you create content, so from scratch, or curate it. So curating content is about finding other content and sharing it in your feed. Obviously, you credit that person. You don't make out like you were the creator of that content. But if you curate content for your industry, then people will come to know that you're very passionate about that industry, for instance. And if you're on Instagram, for instance, the consistency might be the style of the imagery. So you could use a filter, for instance. Next, we want to know your niche. Be an expert at one thing. Be that go-to person for the topic. It sounds really counterintuitive, but we know from experience that this works. By niching down and being known for something, that is how people will remember you, and you will be recommended every time somebody asks, does anybody know somebody who knows this? It happens all the time, and then you become that person that people think about. Next is be consistent in timing and in brand. So whilst we say that once a day is recommended as consistency builds audience trust, you might start off with doing it daily to build that audience. But if what we'd really prefer you to do is to focus on the quality. So if once a day is a little bit much, then maybe focus on 3 times a week. Don't create content for content's sake. And if you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, now I have to be on social media all of these days of the week, you don't have to be. There are some really great tools that you can use, such as Hootsuite, Buffer, and Sprout. These are scheduling tools. What you can do is you can pre-prepare your content and you can put them in these tools, and they will post it for you on the day and the time that you have scheduled it for. So it all just nicely posts, and you don't have to always be on your phone thinking, oh, I have to post today. Oh, I have to post today. We want you to keep your name, your brand voice, your colors, and your profile pics and your tone consistent. So think about some brands that you know of, some big actual corporate brands, right? Think about how their brand always looks consistent. A style of photography, the colors are kind of the same. The same thing is with your personal brand. Next is about being social. So don't expect people to follow you if you only have these one-way conversations with people. Social media is all about being social. So we want you to engage with people and their posts. Join in and contribute to groups. Like and comment other people's posts. This is really great for when you, say, look up to somebody, a thought leader. By interacting with their posts as well, they recognize this, and you start to build relationships with people, and you get to know people in different groups and things like that. And it really naturally expands your network without being salesy, right? Because you're not actually pitching something to somebody. You're actually genuinely engaging with someone and their content. And then that naturally opens up doors. And then, as I mentioned before, you might interact with a thought leader's content. So that kind of stems into that last point, which is what we say, learn from legends. So follow aspirational people, connect with the top people and influencers in your field. Now, I'm not saying go follow Richard Branson because he's going to go and, comment on your post tomorrow, but maybe kind of think, who here in Australia do you look up to? Who here in your industry do you look up to? Is there an author of a book that you've read in that industry that might not get, that might have a following that may not be, as popular as a Richard Branson or a Tim Ferriss that was quoted earlier? Follow these people and, really follow the aspirational people. So who you aspire to be more like. Have a look at what they do. See what works. And don't be shy, reach out and comment and genuinely interact with them. Here are some really great examples of aspirational personal brands. Personal branding experts, top experts in your niche, personal brands you admire and want to be more like. LinkedIn, without a doubt, is one of the most important tools. And I think a lot of people think it's one of those places where corporate people are on, and it's where you go when you're looking for a job. Tell me if you've not thought about that before. And sometimes I've kind of said this joke before. A lot of people don't look after their profile, and then all of a sudden their profile's up to date, and you kind of know they're looking for a job because all of a sudden everything's up to date. Don't be that person. Don't be known as that person. Always have a great digital brand and keep your LinkedIn profile up to date, because people are looking when you're maybe not ready to be looking. So they're making an assumption on you when you're just, not even paying attention. And LinkedIn is by far the most powerful platform for personal branding. So yes, when you're looking for a job. Yes, when you're building a business, but really when you're just trying to position yourself. It's a professional network that is designed to develop your personal brand. And like with any personal asset, it's really important that it's set up correctly and effectively. It's important to know that LinkedIn provides a more professional conversation than other social media networks. It represents individuals usually with higher income brackets on average more than any other social network. And brands and individuals can capture audience in that professional mindset, which is perfect for things like B2B sales, particularly as the network is 3 times as trusted by B2B decision makers. So let's take a look at your profile page. This is Nathaniel Bibby. He is a gun at LinkedIn, and he has been awarded Australia's best LinkedIn marketer for 2019. He won the Social Media Marketing Awards. I'm pretty sure he won 2020 if it hasn't already been launched. But he owns one of Australia's biggest LinkedIn marketing agencies, and he happens to host the LinkedIn module at Social Media College. So we want to look at what best practice is of a member profile. So first we've got to get to grips with the basic elements of a LinkedIn profile. So these are background image, profile picture, headline, and education. This is a great little quote from Andrew Ford. Your profile picture and headline are the 2 most important elements, as they are the first thing you see on LinkedIn. If your picture isn't up to scratch, find someone that you like and have a look at their profile and how they do their photos. So this is some tips about creating a really great personal profile. Relevant attire, head and torso. We're not talking about Facebook here. We don't want full body shots. A nice smile to camera, no group shots, high quality. You don't have to take it up on a professional camera. 400 by 400 is the recommended size, so it doesn't turn out pixelated. You can do this on your phone on a bare background, so that there's nothing too busy in the background. Next, we want a really compelling headline. So your headline is what other LinkedIn users see immediately under your name on your profile and next to your name in search results. And it's your description of yourself and what you do, condensed down into no more than 120 characters. We really recommend that you follow these guidelines when crafting your headline. Tailor it to your audience. That means using a title that's instantly recognizable to people who might find you. So you might use the word sales representative, better than an acronym of like SDR, for example. Next, we want you to include your value proposition. So after your title, you'll want to include a line communicating the value that you add. So for example, on Alan Sharp's profile, we see helping technology firms and their HubSpot partner agencies acquire customers. A really great formula for you to create yours might be helping X to do Y. Use your prospect's language. What do we mean by prospect? Your target audience. Use the language that they use, because we want them to understand exactly what you do when they read it from your headline. So avoid the jargon, company and the role, and stating what you help in a way that the prospect will easily grasp. Avoid kind of terms that you might, come up with yourself, top performing, best, hardworking, winning. That is very common. It's very, anybody can claim that. We want people to, you want to show prospects your credentials and value with solid stats in your about section. So what I want you to do is I want you to write your headline and put it in the little chat down here, if you're willing to share it. I'm going to keep going ahead. Next, you want to have a look at your background image. Everybody's profile has a background image, and there is a default one that comes up, but you have control of what you want to put there. So you can put something as simple as that top image above, where it's just a plain image where there's no actual, word overlay on that. Or you can look at something that Nathaniel has done, and he's actually put some messaging in there. He's got his award there that gives him that extra credibility. Both are quite good, but both have, they have objectives in mind. So as you can see, the top one is Danielle's. She's in the social media space. So that is an image that is very relevant for her industry, and it gives a bit of a vibe as to who she is. Or you can be a bit more direct, which Nathaniel is doing there at the bottom. So he's encouraging you to download a new ebook, plus the award, plus he's a LinkedIn insider, and he's got his company, profile logo on there. Now you can find images on a site called Pixabay. So I'm going to get you to write this down as opposed to doing the exercise now, but I want you to jump onto Pixabay and find a background image that you like, and you can upload it to your profile. Now, don't get so caught up in picking the perfect image. You can change it at any time if you find a better one, but find one and just add it on there, because it's going to do wonders for your profile. So name pronunciation. This is a new feature on LinkedIn. An audio recording feature now allows you to let people know how to pronounce your name correctly. I don't know about you. I don't have too complicated a last name, but there's still ways to pronounce it because I have a European background. So I'm sure a lot of us in Australia as a multicultural background have this problem. So this is a really great feature. I kind of tend to say my name is Tamara Klosarek because it's Western, but it's actually Klisarich. So everybody has a pronunciation of their last name, and this is a really great tool to be able to communicate that on your profile. So you can do that by recording using the mobile app, and then once it's done, a speaker icon, as is in that third image, appears next to your name on both the desktop and mobile versions. Only the profiles that have that next to their that have the audio recording will have that image next to their next to their name. Now we need to talk about the personal summary. Your personal summary is also known as the about section, and it's an ideal opportunity to expand on that headline that we spoke about earlier. It gives you that time to elaborate. You can share what you do, who you are, and the opportunities you are looking for. If you've just been on maternity leave and you're looking for new opportunities, this is where you would talk about that. if you're currently being made redundant and you're looking for new opportunities, make that known. Otherwise, how will recruiters know that you're looking for, for a work? You really want to know what you're trying to accomplish. Career professionals, entrepreneurs, and salespeople will all have different objectives for their personal summary. So consider what you want the reader to do or to think next, and try to inject some personality. Next, what I want you to have a think about is optimizing your summary for keywords. Now, we're getting really technical in here for a personal brand, right? But here's the thing. You really should optimize your summary for keywords, because this is going to help you appear in more searches. Recruiters, companies looking for people, or looking for consultants, they type that into the search function in LinkedIn. And if you have your profile optimized, your LinkedIn scans your profile and picks up on these keywords, and then will put you in the search results. This is how people will find you on LinkedIn. So to choose relevant keywords to include in your profile, there's the two things you can do. Firstly, we want you to think like the prospect. So by the prospect, it's the person that you're targeting. What kind of services are they looking for? And what they might type in to find those. So put yourself in their shoes. What would they type in if they're trying to find somebody? You may have different offerings in your business, so consider how you can make sure that these are all represented by keywords in your summary. Take a look at the profiles of some of your competitors, especially those with lots of reviews and connections, and look at the terms that they're using for their job titles, for their business descriptors, and the services in their summary. Look for the adjectives. WordPress site designer might be a skill that people are looking for instead of just website designer. So rich media can be a fantastic way to promote yourself, as well as increase visibility on branded content. It's also an effective way to promote successes or previous achievements with evidence. Could be a link to an article, it could be a video, a slideshare presentation, or an infographic. The content can be added to the summary or the experience sections in your profile. So think about it like maybe like a portfolio, right? So we think of portfolios for more creative types, but you might have worked on a really great project and managed a project at your last job, which got some sort of recognition. And there might have been a newspaper article written about it, or there might have been a video that was created on YouTube about it. You can actually put these on your profile to give your experience context. And we really recommend, content such as interviews, industry news, insights, campaign microsites. And ideally you would focus on something like 2 pieces of rich media per role. And what you want to do is you want to review that content regularly, because you want it to be update and you want to be able to keep it fresh and relevant. Next, we're going to talk about recommendations. So this is a really great social proof tool, because people are going to get a judgment on you, not just from what they see, but also on what other people have to say about you. So what you want to do is people can give you these recommendations to sit on your profile, and you can ask people like past or current colleagues, people that you work with, supervisors, clients for reviews, and they can add it to your profile. What we would recommend, rather than just kind of hitting the asking for a recommendation button, is email and reach out or call them first and ask them if they'd give you a recommendation. And then what you can do is you can formally here in LinkedIn, you can ask for a recommendation and it will send them the request. And then the user just has to put in the recommendation and it allows you to then add it to your profile automatically. Website software. So let's have a think about how websites work. So a website really needs three main components to be seen on the internet: URL, hosting, website platform. You might want to create a website that talks about what it is that you do and have a brand site perhaps. What you can do is create, if you are a creative, you could actually create a website that houses all of the work that you've done. If you want to be a thought leader in your space, you might want to start a blog. And so you can create a website blog where you can create knowledgeable content and distribute content on that website, and it might be your name, right? It could be tamaraklasaric.com, and this is where you can actually own the entire digital asset and create a website all about yourself, and you can share whatever it is that you want to on here. So this is really great for when you have a lot of content that you want to share that might be too much for something like LinkedIn. And what you can do is you can add that URL onto your LinkedIn profile, and you can drive people over to your website. Right, SEO tips. So Google wants you to have a good website. And when you create a site like that with useful content for your clients and your customers, it sounds really simple, right? We're going to post the blog, we're going to post all my opinions on the industry. It's going to be super simple. But what we want to do is we want to make Google happy, because all of this work that we're going to put into our website and create content, we want people to be able to find it on the internet. And so we want to make pages primarily for users and not for search engines. So what we want to do is we want to make Google happy, like the little emoji here. So we want to make sure that things are very clear, that we're not deceiving our users. So what we mean by that is there aren't hidden pages, or everything is very clear. So when people land on the page, there are no links that might link out to, clickbaity type sites. We want to ensure that our content ranks very well in search engine rankings, and we want users to be able to find it. So when they're typing in questions in Google, our blog article or our case study that we might have created on some work that we did will rank on Google. Now, there's ways that we make Google sad, and that will hide our website off Google rankings. So there are things such as those hidden links that I spoke about, sneaky redirects. So you might put in a link where people think they're just going to go to a blog article, and instead you're trying to sell them something on another site. Those types of sneaky things, Google will scan your site and they know what's going on. And then what will happen is that you'll be penalized and your pages won't be shown in Google. And all of your hard work is going to go down the drain. So let's think about, if you were to create a website, what would your URL be? Would your personal brand be around your name? Would it be around a brand that you've created for yourself? Would it be, what would that URL be? If you've got a more common name, that URL might not be available. So you might want to match that up with a word in your industry. So it could be Tamara Klasaric Social, because there could be more Tamara Klasarics in the world. But if you're Jan Smith, chances are jansmith.com is taken. But if you're Jan Smith Photographer, Sarah Rolfe Celebrant, as a wedding celebrant, this is a way that you can create more of a unique URL. And what you can do is you can go to GoDaddy, and on the landing page of GoDaddy, godaddy.com, you can see if your proposed URL is available. So if you've got your little phone with you, definitely go and do that now. Otherwise, take note of your URL, and after this masterclass, go and check if your URL is available. Now, thirdly, in the e-traction method, we've covered understand, we've covered our values, personality, life stage, resources. We've covered the building of the brand on social media. We've covered LinkedIn, we've covered websites and SEO. Now we're going to leverage across our connections, our content, our pitch, and our closing. So what we mean by that is, how can we focus on using our online brand to generate opportunities? This is the bit that you're actually wanting to do, but you actually have to do the first two sections to build that brand before you can leverage it. So how can we generate that opportunity and interest in you as a product? So that process of selling yourself for business or career is very similar. We use the same e-traction method. This is where opportunities come to you instead of you having to chase them all the time. To do this, you set up a sales funnel and you fill it with new connections. And once you have an audience, you share great content with them to engage and educate them on your offering. And this is what content marketing is all about. And it's the starting point of e-traction. So it's really important to start thinking of your career as a business and to market yourself as the product. In this section, we're going to look at LinkedIn and how you can use it to find connections, to produce that great content. Use LinkedIn to write a personal pitch, right? Pitching yourself, and how you can close the sale of you being the brand. And this really simple yet effective process helps to generate word of mouth referrals. And honestly, word of mouth referrals, hands down, the best marketing that you can get. So firstly, we want to think about, who do we want to connect with on LinkedIn? So you can import contacts from your email account. If you haven't set up a LinkedIn account, when you first do so, you can connect it to your, say, your Gmail, and it will scan your connections, and it will say, do you want to import all these people? And we'll send them all an invite. That is by far the quickest way to get everybody that you already know, rather than you having to try to remember everybody that you already know. After you do that, you can search for both current and former clients and colleagues, and you send them connection requests. So who do you work with now? Go and find them on LinkedIn. What was your last job? If not last job, last department. Who's left the business that you can also connect with? What about school, right? High school, university. What are these people doing now? Connect with them. Send requests to people from even your local community. You might have interest groups or hobbies you're involved in, and it's a really great way to build your network. So to do that, we're going to use LinkedIn search. It's a great way to find connections who are relevant to you. And you can actually narrow this down through different fields. So you can actually start doing searches by companies, by industries, to find people that you might want to also connect with. You can also do the find nearby function. And that's going to be a great way to find those potential connections who are in close proximity, particularly at networking events. The thing though is that both people need to have the function turned on for it to work, but it's a really great way to combine that online and offline networking. Another great way to build your network is to join groups. So if you're in social media, for instance, there's some really great social media groups that you can join. Most industries are represented. Go and find some groups. You can start typing in some keywords in the search function and go into the group section, and you will see some groups that will pop up. Sometimes LinkedIn also recommends these to you. Join them, see the conversations that are taking place, participate, and you will start to learn to connect with people, and you can reach out to these people and grow your audience that way. So ensuring that you're creating and sharing content that is valued by your audience is very, very important. Content is a really great way to get engagement, right? To have people interact with your posts. And it could even go viral on LinkedIn. And what that means is it can appear into feeds of people that aren't in your network. So outside of your network. If the content is of value to your second and third connections, right? So your first connections are the people who you've directly connected to. Your second connections are the connections of those people. And then the third connections are the connections of those people. And by creating valuable content or curating valuable content, this is how posts can go viral, and then you are seen through a much wider audience. Some people do this through, for instance, this example here is an offer of a white paper on the effect that blockchain will have on the legal industry. So what you can do is you can encourage users to comment, right? In here, they've got type gimme in the comments and I'll send you a free copy. They are doing this because they are getting comments on their post, and because people are commenting on their post, other people in their network are seeing it, and so it gets, you know, bigger and bigger. This post had 1,704 comments on it, but the actual reach reached in excess of 2 million views. So this is how going viral actually works. On a topic like blockchain, right? So I don't know if you guys know what blockchain is, but you know, it's not the most riveting content. So it's really interesting that you can reach the your audience in such a wide way. Now, we spoke about having a blog potentially on your own website. Let's just say you're not ready for that yet, but you want to share some blog content. So LinkedIn actually has an inbuilt blogging platform. So if you wanted to start out by publishing a couple of insightful pieces, it will allow you to quickly and easily publish a long form article to LinkedIn, and that is actually searchable on Google also. So as I mentioned before, quality over quantity. Make sure your content is visual, so not just written content, have some visuals in there to help elaborate on what it is that you're trying to talk about. And we're not talking about writing an essay here. 400 to 800 words is a really great length for a blog because it keeps people engaged. They get to learn something, but then they're in and out really quickly. Next, we've got the private message function within LinkedIn. So when sending messages on LinkedIn, it's really important to have a good message structure. You can reach out to individuals and private message them. And this is really going to make or break that connection, because too often, how many times, if you're on LinkedIn, how many times have you been pitched to by a complete stranger who wants to be your connection, but they also want business from you on the first interaction? That is literally the way that you do not do private messages. So we really recommend a simple structure of introducing yourself, quickly stating what you do and who you help, as in your headline, and then quickly moving on to giving your purpose for contacting them. So what are you offering? What do they want to hear? Why do they want to hear from you? Make it benefit-based for your recipient, and wrap up with a friendly close. So don't, like I said, pitch straight up to people. Even if you think you can solve everything that they're going through, you might have seen them online and you're like, I can solve your business's problems because I saw you had this problem. Don't go straight to them and pitch your services. It seems very disingenuous, and you want to build relationships. So without relationships, you're going to find it really hard to convince them to work with you. And it's going to negatively impact your relationship with your connections. So with all three elements of the process working together, you're going to be in flow with understanding your values, your personality, your life stage, and your resources. Your web and your social media assets are going to be consistent, which is going to be a really effective source for leads. You're going to be able to leverage your connection create relevant content and pitch yourself to those connections and your services and close the deal. But remember, not on the first interaction. So this is the complete system that is going to make your personal brand attractive. It's going to help you stand out from the crowd and deliver the results you've been looking for. And that's it, everyone. I know I rambled on a little bit over time, and I'm really glad that you guys stuck it out. From everything that I've covered, I'm hoping that you've got some questions, or if anything kind of stimulated or prompted some ideas. I would really love to help guide you with your personal branding. So if you have any questions, do feel free to pop them in the chat down here below, and we can go through them.
Questions?
I'm going to take this off.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for the great presentation. It was really interesting, deeper than I was expecting, really. So I really like it. I think that the strategy makes sense. So thank you again, and I'm sure our students enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot of information. I think a lot of us don't think about ourselves that deeply, right? We all struggle to market ourselves. It's not a natural thing to do. But what we don't really understand is that if we don't market ourselves and create the brand ourselves of how we want to be perceived, it's already happening. It just might not be the way that you want to be perceived. So it's better for you to take control and make sure that the brand that's going out there, even if you don't want to bring in leads and you just want to be known for something, take control of that personal brand and really understand who it is that you are, and so that you can create that brand that everybody, when they start to look for you and meet you and get to know you, they they understand you and they think of you as the brand that you want them to think of you as.
Great, yes. So questions, anyone?
Maybe you can ask if she has some specific recommendations for international.
Come here, Maria, and then you can ask. Okay, so what's the sorry, Maria, our trainer has a question here. Don't be shy, join us.
Hi, Tamara.
Hello.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering if you have any specific recommendation for international students that are looking for job opportunities here in Australia, because it's basically our class here. So if you have, I think that this specific feature that you mentioned on LinkedIn about recording the pronunciation of your name is quite useful for them. But in case you have any other recommendation on your top of your mind, it would be nice to
So we spoke before about what is it that you're trying to communicate. So I've been an international visitor before. So when I moved to London, I had to market myself in a new country where it was very much of the opinion that if you didn't have, local experience, they really didn't want to take a look at you, right? How do you understand this market? The Australian market's not the English market. And so what I had to do was, how can I use my personal brand to show prospects, i.e. recruiters and businesses, that I understood the market? And so I can do that by writing some insightful blog pieces. I could do that by showcasing the work that I did in Australia through that rich media content and adding that to my profile that had global reach, right? So think about the things that are preventing you from achieving what it is that you want to achieve. Is it because people think that you either don't have local experience? Is it because they think that you're new to the industry? And then if that's the hurdle, if that's the gap that we spoke about, how can you fill the gap? Because here's the thing, if we use personal branding at the very core basic, needs and requirements of getting a job, then you want to be able to fill the gap so that when a recruiter looks at your page, any things that you think that they would have thought, oh no, they're not suitable, you're ticking off, you're answering those questions, because you don't always get the chance to come in for an interview, for instance. Same thing if you wanted to position yourself as a thought leader. I get a lot of international students who, and not just students, but like people from other countries who want to be thought leaders, but feel that their name or their accent hinders them from doing that. So they really need to look at how they can use their personal brand to show that it's nothing to do with their accent or nothing to do with, anything that they're thinking in their mind. They can use their personal brand to share that. So in that instance, they might want to set up a website where they can share valuable information and communicate as themselves and be authentic, so that people warm to them and don't think about something as trivial as an accent, right? So the key message here is, what is the gap? What is the thing that's stopping you as an international student from getting where you want to be? And how can you use your LinkedIn profile at the very basic to fill that gap? Because we don't always get the chance to be in front of that person to have that conversation. Does that help?
Yes, yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of, write down what are the barriers you're facing and try to remove them in the best way. And
yeah,
nowadays we have the tools. We have social media, so you have, let's say, a more direct access to people. Back in the day, people wouldn't have that. You have to go to the company and knock at the door and say, I'm here. But now on social media, LinkedIn, you can try to connect with people. So I think it's even easier. But you need to know the barriers and remove them.
Yeah. Now I've got a private DM here as well that talks about, I'm starting to work in social media, but I'm acknowledged that it's more in the Brazilian market. So personal branding is not restricted to Australia or English speaking countries, right? It is, if you want to get clients as a social media manager, how can you use personal branding to position yourself as the expert, so that when you go and have conversations with potential clients, they're going to come and research you and Google you regardless of what country you're in. And if they see that you're active in the industry, you're sharing blogs, you're teaching people, you're doing this, you're doing that, they're comparing different agencies and different social media managers. And if this person is doing nothing and you have a great blog and profile and you're showing how passionate you are about social media, who do you think they're going to choose to work with? Right? They're going to choose the person who's very passionate and does all these extra things because they've got a brand. When we looked at that red can, or we look at the shoes, right? If we look at runners, black runners or black runners with a tick, right? But the black shoe, plain black shoes, you might pay $20 for, but the one with the tick has the brand, and they can ask, $200 for a pair of shoes. That is what branding is all about. It helps elevate. As, say, a social media marketer, you can charge more. If an employer is looking for you and you convey this brand, you can ask for more money for your salary. You just need to think about what it is that you're trying to achieve and how you can use your personal brand to get you there.
Good. Any more questions? Anyone? So yeah, I think we're good here on our side. Is there any other question on the chat?
No, I think we're all good on the chat. There are no questions at this point.
Okay.
What we could do probably, Paulo, is, and if you guys get any questions from the students later after masterclass is over, definitely send it over to us and we can probably put the answers together and have it sent to you guys for a class session later at your own pace then.
Great, let's do that for sure. But thank you again for the amazing masterclass. We really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good evening.